Most retirees treat their Roth IRA like a golden goose, too precious to ever touch. But is this actually a mistake? In this three-part series, we've covered when to use your taxable account, when to use your traditional IRA, and now we'll close it out with when to use your Roth, and also when not to use your Roth IRA. When we think about your retirement income, each type of account plays by a different set of rules. Your taxable account is constantly kicking off dividends, interest, sometimes capital gains, income that you don't always want, but also can't always stop. Your traditional IRA eventually forces you into RMDs, and even before that, every withdrawal is fully taxable. But with a Roth, the Roth IRA is different. There's no forced income, no RMDs during your lifetime, and no surprise tax forms showing up at the end of the year. That makes it the one account that you can truly control. You get to decide when, if ever, to take money out, and when you do, it's tax-free. So while most of retirement planning is about overcoming the lack of control in your taxable and traditional accounts, the Roth represents pure flexibility. And that's why it's so tempting to never touch it. But as we'll see, that's not always the best strategy. One of the biggest hurdles with Roth IRAs isn't tax laws, it's psychology. I hear this all the time. I don't want to touch my Roth because it grows tax-free. And I get it. On paper, it feels like the Roth is too valuable to spend from. You probably also worked quite hard through suffering through Roth conversions and tax payments to get the money into that Roth. But that mindset can also backfire. If you're only focused on preserving tax-free growth, you might miss the opportunities to use the Roth strategically, like lowering your tax bracket in a big income year, keeping ACA subsidies, or smoothing out future RMDs. If you constantly delay the use of Roth assets, you never get to benefit from that Roth. Your heirs might, but you don't. If you constantly delay the use of Roths, you never get to benefit from the Roth. Now, your heirs might, but you don't. This is what I call the Golden Goose problem. People guard the Roth so closely that they never gain any benefit from it. This can leave some big gaps in your planning strategy, as we'll cover. And just as a reminder, the idea that a Roth IRA has some inherent value simply because it grows tax-free is a myth. I know many of you who watch this channel regularly are probably tired of me saying this, but it bears repeating because this myth still persists. There's no magic in tax-free growth. The only value between a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA comes down to the tax rates that you are paying or avoiding. On the screen is a simple proof. Same tax rate, same growth rate. Now, the tax bill looks different, but the after-tax wealth ends up the same. That's because of something called the commutative property. The order of multiplication doesn't change the outcome. Whether you pay tax first and grow later or grow first and pay tax later, the math works out the same if the tax rate is the same. The reason I bring this up is because the tax rate is ultimately going to determine when we use traditional IRA assets and when we use Roth assets. The best way to use a Roth account ultimately comes when we are using it to avoid paying higher tax rates. Let me give you a couple examples. So the first common and strategic use of your Roth account is what I'll label as event-driven uses. One of the clearest examples of an event-driven use is using a Roth during ACA years. Let's say that you're retiring before Medicare and buying insurance through the Affordable Care Act marketplace. The amount that you pay for coverage is directly tied to the income that you report on your tax return. If you can keep your income lower, you may qualify for subsidies that can save you thousands of dollars per month. On the screen, I have an example situation for 2026. We're looking at a retired couple in Arizona, and they need about $90,000 to fill their income need. Now, if we just take that full $90,000 from their traditional IRA, their income is going to be too high for ACA and give them no subsidies. They'll be paying almost $1,600 a month for health insurance premiums. This unsubsidized situation is shown on the right-hand side of the screen. On the left, I show a situation where this couple takes the first $42,000 of income from their traditional IRA, and then everything else that they need, they're going to take from their Roth. This keeps their reported income at $42,000 and earns them some significant subsidies. Their monthly premium is now more than $1,500 per month cheaper. Effectively, we took around $50,000 of distributions from our Roth and saved $18,000 in expenses because of that. From an ROI standpoint, this is an amazing use for your Roth IRA. Another event-driven scenario where Roth use can make a lot of sense is when someone has a one-time expense or purchase that pushes them into higher and higher tax rates. Remember, we live in a progressive tax system where tax rates rise as we show higher income. So for the most part, our goal with tax planning is to try to spread out someone's tax liability through their life to maintain those lower rates. Well, one-time expenses can really break this goal in a number of ways. On the screen, I have a retiree in Nebraska who has $28,000 of Social Security benefits and some dividends and interest as well. The chart I am showing on the screen is the marginal rate they will be paying as they withdraw additional steps of income. So let's say in a normal situation, the area I have highlighted in orange is what this client would have normally been taking to meet their income needs. This year, however, is a bit different. This retiree has 2 children and wants to take them both on a multi-week vacation that ideally everyone remembers and cherishes for the rest of their lives. This vacation is going to cost almost $20,000. Given this, what should this retiree do? If they take this money all from their traditional IRA, I have highlighted in red the marginal rates that they will be paying. As you can see, the extra money that they would need to take for this trip would be quite costly tax-wise. They are being forced into multiple tax traps that will raise their marginal rate above 30% for a good stretch. So remember, back to that mathematical proof that we showed earlier with the value difference between using a Roth versus a traditional IRA. It comes down to tax rates. For most families, paying tax rates in the high 20% or low 30% range will be too expensive. So this is a perfect opportunity to use Roth assets and completely avoid those higher rates. Next is hopefully a less common scenario, but the concept may apply more broadly. One of the most confusing situations new retirees need to navigate is how to pay taxes in retirement. If you are living on just IRA withdrawals, Social Security, and maybe pensions, taxes can be all done through withholdings, which is quite straightforward. But many retirees will find it best to spend down their taxable account early in retirement, which will mean that they need to deal with quarterly estimates. Let's look at a retiree who did a Roth conversion earlier in the year, but either forgot or didn't understand the quarterly estimate payment system. Let's say we sit here in Q4 and they should have been making a $5,500 tax payment each quarter, but for whatever reason, they didn't. Given that they didn't, they are facing some tax underpayment penalties, which are around 7% annualized interest on whatever they missed. So here are their options right now. They can make a big estimated payment right now to cover those missed payments, but will still be subject to those penalties. They could do a one-time IRA distribution and withhold everything for taxes. This would avoid penalties because they're doing it in the form of withholdings, but it also may push them into higher tax zones that they want to avoid. Their final option is to do a one-time Roth IRA distribution and withhold everything from taxes. Even though Roths don't incur taxes, you can actually still withhold taxes from these distributions. Doing so would avoid penalties and also not add to their tax situation. So in certain cases, Roths can be used as a get-out-of-jail-free card when mistakes are made. Next, let's talk about the second most strategic use of Roth IRAs, but first, let's go back to something that we discussed in the traditional IRA video. Traditional IRAs tend to be what I'll label as a problem account. Due to RMDs in your 70s, this account can commonly force retirees to take out more income from this type of account than may be best for their tax situation. So we discussed a window of opportunity retirees have, typically in their mid to late 60s, where they can clean up a lot of problems within this account through a combination of withdrawals as well as Roth conversions. So this becomes an area where we want to ask a question particular to your situation. Within this cleanup zone, are you going to be able to fix tax problems that will come from your traditional IRAs, or are you able to just minimize them? To take an aggressive example, let's say someone has $4 million in tax deferred accounts. It's very unlikely that we will be able to do large enough conversions within this cleanup zone to fully fix tax issues. We are likely in a position where we are minimizing tax issues and then continuing strategic Roth conversions into their 70s and 80s. We know we are going to have larger RMDs than we probably want, but there is no clean way to fix this problem. Again, we're only minimizing it. If you're in this type of situation, the Roth use that I'm about to talk about probably won't be applicable to you because you likely won't need to use Roth accounts with such large RMDs. But this type of situation that I'm describing will be uncommon. Most retirees will be able to fix tax problems within this cleanup zone and make this next Roth use quite valuable. This brings us to use number 2, which is using your Roth IRA when you're in more of a steady state in retirement. Here we are trying to take a combination of withdrawals from multiple accounts to leave our tax liability low from year to year and avoid those high marginal tax rates. Let's first look at a single retiree with just traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs. Now, let's assume during the cleanup zone, this retiree was able to fix a lot of the tax problems by doing Roth conversions within the 10 and 12% brackets. Well, as we get to a steady state situation, likely in their 70s, where their traditional IRAs are in a more manageable position, then we will likely want to take a withdrawal order that looks similar to this. We take some IRA withdrawals to fill up the 0% bracket, and then as we start hitting some of those higher marginal rates, we then shift to Roth. Now, some retirees will want to take a little bit more from their IRAs and maybe fill up that 18.5% zone that I show on the screen. But the key here is we Roth converted at rates of 10 and 12% to bring our IRA balance down. And now we are taking withdrawals from our IRA at 0% rates and maybe even 18.5% rates. We completely avoid those 20+% rates. Now, if we adjust the situation a bit and we say that in that cleanup zone, this retiree needed to be a little bit more aggressive with Roth conversions and convert it into the 22% bracket, then withdrawal order after that cleanup zone would look something more like this. Here we extend out the IRA withdrawals to a wider range of income because IRAs in this hypothetical situation are larger, and this retiree wasn't able to flush a bunch of that money out of their IRA at rates less than 22%. So a 22% tax rate becomes our decision point. We are willing to take additional IRA withdrawals at rates less than 22%, and then we want to take Roth withdrawals at rates higher than 22% as shown on the screen. Next, we take a look at a couple and we look at a 3-account mix here, traditional and Roth IRAs, and then a taxable account. Again, in a steady state situation, we likely want to take a combination of withdrawals. On the screen, I have mapped out how we likely want to look at their situation. We start by filling in some IRA withdrawals at 0%. Then we do a combination of IRA and taxable account withdrawals for a range above this, then fill in Roth beyond that once we hit higher tax hurdles that push us up into the mid 20% tax range as well as the 30% range. In all of these steady state scenarios, we are avoiding Medicare's IRMA, by the way. Then the final use of our Roth IRA comes in using it as an estate planning tool for some families. Now, many of you are probably somewhat familiar with the 10-year inheritance rule on IRAs. When you pass money on to the next generation, they have 10 years to fully withdraw this money. In a traditional IRA, this can be quite costly as 10 years is really not that long to fully withdraw down a multiple $100,000 account. Now, Roths have the same 10-year rule, but this is less of a constraint with Roth IRAs because withdrawals have no tax consequence. So most heirs will want to leave this money invested within that Roth for the full 10 years, earn that tax-free growth, then withdraw it all at once in that 10th year. Given all of this, Roths are quite valuable to pass to the next generation. Now I mapped out a little decision map for how you might want to think about passing on a Roth IRA or traditional IRA to the next generation, and which might be best given your situation. If your heirs are in lower tax brackets than you, maybe they've had modest income or smaller retirement savings, it often makes more sense to pass them a traditional IRA. They can pull from it without taking those huge tax hits. But if your heirs are in higher tax brackets, maybe they're in their peak earning years or living in a high tax state, that's where Roth becomes much more valuable. Every dollar they withdraw is tax-free, which could be a huge benefit to your heirs. It's likely that you can withdraw from your traditional IRA at cheaper rates than they can. And if you have multiple heirs, anything you pass on from a traditional IRA will be split a few more ways. This spreads out a tax liability and again, probably leans us towards being more comfortable passing on a bit more in traditional IRA assets. Again, in all of this discussion, our decisions points with utilizing Roth or traditional IRAs ourselves or passing them on to the next generation comes down to tax rates. What are we paying versus what would our heirs be paying? Then finally, as we've discussed in past videos, asset location, not what you hold, but where you hold assets, is a very important concept to consider within your Roth or any other account. Outside of some small use in the ACA years, our Roth is likely to have a longer time horizon for withdrawals. Because of its tax-free nature and longer time horizon, this is generally an account that we want to leave a bit more aggressive. Now, we might not be putting 100% stock within this account, but let's say we're a 60-40 across our entire situation. It's likely that we want to be more like an 80-20 or 90-10 within our Roth. This leaves room for additional growth while still allowing for some safety in case we need some withdrawals for those event-driven situations that we discussed in use number 1. As you get into those later years and more of a steady state situation, obviously you'd add more safety to that Roth IRA. So there you have it. That wraps up our 3-part series on when and when not to use your retirement accounts, well, in retirement. Your Roth IRA can be a very valuable account as we showed, but be careful about protecting it like a golden goose. If we never use our Roth, we never really benefit from it. Instead, your heirs do. If you found this series helpful, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss future videos. And remember, you don't need more money, you need a better plan. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.